Get out of debt is one of the most overused lines in personal finance, and it's not wrong, but it's also not the full story. Some debt will drain your money. Some can actually help build wealth. Here's the part no one tells you. Over 70% of total U.S. household debt is in mortgages, and yet homeowners saw trillions in equity gains between 2019 and 2024. Debt didn't ruin them. It helped build their net worth. So it's not just about having debt. It's about what kind of debt you have and what you're doing instead. Here's how keeping low-interest debt can sometimes make more financial sense than paying it off early, especially when that money could be used to invest, build wealth, or improve cash flow. Stick around, this is the side of debt experts usually skip. Also share it with who needs to see it. But before we go any further, yes, this is an AI voice, but a real person wrote this. I earned my financial freedom and I'm not doing this for money. I don't like narrating videos, so I use an AI voice. Ignore that the voice is AI. The video is worth it. Check out the full details by visiting the link in the description. The real types of debt: smart versus toxic. Some debt builds wealth, some destroys it. The difference? Interest rates, asset quality, and if it's feeding your future or eating it. This section breaks it down. If you're holding the right kind of debt, paying it off early might not just be unnecessary, it might be a mistake. Good debt isn't a myth. Good debt is typically low interest, long-term, and attached to an appreciating or income-producing asset. Think mortgages, federal student loans with income-based repayment, and business loans tied to profitable operations. For example, a 30-year fixed mortgage at 3.5% interest on a home that appreciates 5 to 6% annually can lead to significant gains, even after accounting for costs. Student loans for high ROI degrees, e.g. in engineering, IT, healthcare, are another form of productive debt. In each case, the debt acts more like an investment tool than a liability. These types of debt also come with manageable repayment terms and potential tax advantages. Mortgage interest is still deductible for many households, and student loan interest can reduce taxable income up to $2,500 per year, subject to income limits. What cheap debt really costs you? When inflation is high, fixed low-interest debt becomes even cheaper in real terms. A mortgage at 3% during a 4 to 5% inflation cycle actually loses value each year. It gets easier to repay. According to Statista, the household debt service ratio, monthly debt payments as a percent of disposable income, was 9.8% as of Q3 2023. That's well below its 2007 peak of over 13%. Even though Americans are taking on more total debt, it's becoming cheaper to carry in the context of income and inflation. This is why blanket advice to just pay it off doesn't always hold up. If the debt is low cost and manageable, holding onto it while deploying your cash elsewhere can yield a better financial outcome. Opportunity cost. The real price of paying off. Cheap debt. Paying off debt early might sound like progress, but in some cases it's a poor trade-off. Every dollar used to reduce a low-interest balance is a dollar that's not invested or saved elsewhere. This is where opportunity cost comes in. It's the money you miss out on when you prioritize debt reduction over wealth-building activities. You could be earning instead. The stock market doesn't guarantee returns, but it does reward consistency. Over the past 50 years, the S&P 500 has returned an average of more than 10% annually. Even with down years, long-term investors typically outperform the interest saved by prepaying a 3 to 5% loan. Let's say you have a $300,000 mortgage at 3.25%. Paying it off early saves interest, but investing that same money over 15 years could easily net $100,000 to $200,000 more, depending on returns. That's not a gamble. That's math. The key is understanding the spread. If your investment outpaces your loan's cost, then prepayment isn't just unnecessary, it's inefficient. Liquidity is power. Cash equals options. And options are everything when life gets unpredictable. Tying up funds in loan payoffs sounds noble until you hit a job loss, emergency, or market opportunity and have nothing liquid to work with. That's a real risk. Nearly 60% of Americans still can't cover a $1,000 emergency from savings, according to a recent survey. That number hasn't moved much in years. Being debt-free on paper doesn't help when your roof leaks and you can't write a check. Keeping accessible cash and keeping your debt costs manageable is often the safer and smarter strategy. How strategic debt builds wealth. Used correctly, debt doesn't limit wealth, it multiplies it. The goal isn't to avoid debt at all costs. The goal is to use it to control more valuable assets while keeping your own money working somewhere else. Smart debt lets you scale what would otherwise take decades of saving. It buys time, access, and opportunity. And in some cases, the only real mistake is paying it off too soon. Leverage in real estate. Real estate is one of the clearest examples of wealth built with debt. Most people can't buy a home with cash, but a 20% down payment lets them control 100% of the property. That's leverage, and it works both ways, but historically, it's been in the owner's favor. U.S. home values rose an average of 4.3% annually from 1991 to early 2025, according to data from the Federal Housing Finance Agency, FHFA. Using debt to fund business or investments. It's not just real estate. Business owners and investors use debt to scale, and they do it because it works. According to the Federal Reserve's 2024 Small Business Credit Survey, 59% of employer businesses use some form of financing to grow or stabilize operations. The most common reason wasn't to cover payroll or emergencies. It was to expand. A $50,000 business loan at 6% that helps generate $200,000 in new revenue isn't a burden. It's a smart trade. The same logic can apply to investing. Buying more stock with margin, using personal loans to fund real estate, or freeing up capital through asset-backed lines of credit. Riskier? Yes. But in controlled amounts, that risk is often worth the return. The mistake isn't using debt. The mistake is using it to buy things that don't pay you back. When paying off debt makes sense, there are still times when being aggressive with debt payoff is the right move. Not all debt is worth keeping, and in some cases, holding on to it does more harm than good. The key is knowing which debt costs more than it's worth, and when peace of mind is more valuable than a few extra points of return. Toxic debt is a financial fire. High-interest debt doesn't need a spreadsheet. It needs to go. Credit cards, payday loans, buy now, pay later schemes, and store-branded accounts often carry APR rates of 20 to 30%. That's not leverage. That's a money leak. As of Q1 2025, the average credit card APR is 21.37%, according to LendingTree. That kind of interest grows fast and compounds in the wrong direction. Unlike mortgage or business debt, these balances don't come with asset growth, rental income, or tax advantages. They just grow. In these cases, there's no nuance. Pay them off, then avoid them going forward. Mental simplicity still matters. Even with financially sound debt, some people just want it gone, and that's valid. There's a real psychological benefit to simplicity, especially for people who value minimalism, predictability, or are nearing retirement. Being debt-free reduces risk, lowers monthly obligations, and provides peace of mind. But just be aware that comfort has a cost. If you're walking away from a 7% return to save 3%, understand the trade-off. There's no wrong choice, just a more expensive one. A smarter, balanced strategy. The best debt strategy isn't all or nothing. You don't need to choose between being completely debt-free or leveraging everything to the hilt. Most people should land somewhere in the middle, paying down bad debt while still using good debt to move forward. That balance lets you grow your net worth, keep liquidity, and reduce risk at the same time. It's not about being anti-debt or pro-debt. It's about being pro-net worth. Keep what's working, kill what's not. Start by separating your debts into two camps, productive and destructive. Productive debt is low interest, fixed rate, and tied to income, or appreciating assets like a mortgage, a rental property loan, or a business line of credit. That's debt you might keep. Destructive debt includes anything with a high variable rate, no clear return, or no upside like credit cards, payday loans, or retail financing. That's the stuff that needs to go. Fast. Then get strategic. Keep minimum payments on the productive side and invest the difference elsewhere. Focus any extra income or windfalls on wiping out high-cost debt first. It's not just about peace of mind, it's about putting your money where it compounds, not where it evaporates. Split the difference, pay down, and invest. There's no rule that says you can't pay down debt and invest at the same time. In fact, that's often the smartest move. It spreads your risk, grows your assets, and keeps your financial options open. For example, if you're deciding what to do with a $10,000 bonus, consider putting $5,000 toward extra mortgage payments or a car loan, and the other $5,000 into an index fund or high-yield savings. One gives you guaranteed interest savings, the other keeps compounding. Both improve your position. Debt is just a tool. And like any tool, it's only as smart as how you use it. Debt isn't the enemy, wasted potential is. Paying off debt feels responsible, but it's not always the smartest financial move. Smart debt builds assets, protects liquidity, and keeps your money growing. The real danger isn't having a mortgage or business loan, it's letting opportunities slip while chasing a zero balance. Use debt with intention, not fear. The goal isn't to owe nothing, it's to own your time, your choices, and your future. Thanks for watching, and if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. Also, don't forget the link in the description.